Okay, so like Wesley said, I work for Engler and I do storytelling, which is essentially communication. And I'm also a photographer, so I have my own photography business. And today I also have some pictures to share with you. But I just want to start by saying that some of these pictures I'm prouder to have taken than others. And my hope is that in a couple years I can look back at these and be like, look how far I've come. Because if we weren't trying to get better every day, what would we be doing? So I'd also like to say that I didn't find Engler until my sophomore year, so if you're a freshman, you're already one step ahead of me, and we're so happy that you're here. But I was asked to talk about the power of the story tonight, and my hope for you is that your takeaway is that the power of the story belongs to the heart. So I have two stories to share for you. Okay, cool. So story one, there's a farmer who lives in Fullerton, Nebraska, north of town, and he raises corn and soybeans. He utilizes cover crops and advocates for no-till farming. As if he wasn't busy enough, irrigating about 70% of his crops in the summer, he loves custom woodworking and does projects for people across Nebraska and the country, and that's just his side hustle. And in his free time, he likes to go pontooning, and he's also currently working on getting his pilot's license. So as if all of that weren't enough, the dude also loves to do CrossFit competitions. So we have a pretty cool, busy guy. And for story two, I just ask that you get comfortable and picture this with me. You're walking down a long dirt driveway, and to your right is a small fishing pond. And ahead of you is a little blue house tucked into a forest of green trees. You make your way to the white door, and a tall, 6-foot, slender man with tan skin opens the door, and you can see his aged grit by the scuffs on his boots, the toughness of his hands, and the wrinkles on the edges of his face as he smiles. He invites you in to sit at his table, and in a warm, calming voice, he starts in about the disease that he's had since about age 5. Dirt disease, he calls it. So this isn't your typical disease, and he tells you that this dirt disease is this crazy itch to plant seeds, watch them grow, and harvest them in the fall. He never liked school much. He couldn't wait to get out of college so he could start farming. And oddly enough, he courageously took on more labor sooner than expected when his dad was diagnosed with cancer and died in his late 20s. So he tells you that his road has seen plenty of trials over the years after his dad's death, and many droughts and many floods. But all of his success that he's found, he credits to the good Lord above, none of it is his own. So all of these stories are about the same man, who is my father. So what's the difference? In story one, it's not entirely true. My dad is not an athlete, does not do CrossFit, doesn't do woodworking. He really doesn't like to go boating because he just loves to work. So my dad's a simple, humble guy who simply loves what he does. And that's my message for you today. The power of the story belongs to the heart. Our hearts are like a river. The story belongs to the source of the river. The source is the heart, and the river is the story. Good art always starts with the heart. So I'll just talk about heart. You might be thinking, oh, this is mushy. Oh, sounds weak and soft. But I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. It takes a lot of courage to share your story, your fire in the belly, with the wholehearted truth. And it also takes just as much courage to listen to someone else's fire in the belly, totally selflessly. And also, if you're sitting there thinking, I'm not creative, I'm not an artist, I'm here to tell you that if you identify as an entrepreneur, you are creative no matter what your craft may be. You're a problem solver, and you're going to make a difference in the world. So what is a story that starts with a heart? It is a farmer going after one last calf in the midst of a brewing storm. Cooking for a house full of kids and grandkids, only to eat last. Doing what most people would call overtime to fix what's broken. Laughing when someone says a coffee shop in small town Nebraska won't make it, and starting the coffee shop anyways. Teaching the next generation of makers and earth shakers to do what mom and dad do. And doing the good, honest work. And the good, honest work is hard. So let's talk about something hard. About a year ago, I sat in Tom Field's office, and he asked me a hard question, and that was, who would you be if you couldn't do the thing that makes up who you are? Yikes! Who would I be if I could not be a photographer? So, that's my question for you also today. Who are you really? Who are you without that thing that makes you who you are? Maybe it's because of a natural disaster, a life-altering injury, or a really crappy market. But could you imagine if something like a pandemic that stopped the whole world prevented you from doing the thing that you love? I'm sure some of you in this room can. And as I reflected on this question myself, I came to find that it wasn't the skill or the pictures or the camera that ultimately makes me who I am. It's my God-given empathy and compassion that I will carry with me in whatever I do. So, think about this question yourselves. And lastly, just know that you have the power to frame the story any way you want, from any perspective. But the power of the story starts with the heart. And that's all I have for you. My office is next to Dr. Fields, so if you want to come hang out and introduce yourself, please do. Door's always open.